do want to start with our power rankings. We do it every Tuesday morning here at the show. If you're on the internet, you're on social media, there were some issues here this morning. Twitter was not working. Canva wasn't working. Our graphics package wasn't working. And right before we kind of came on, it all started working again. So we don't have our graphics here for our power ranking segment like we usually do. By the way, we are live on Twitter right now, so shout out to Nick Kirby for making that happen. But but no graphics here for the power rankings. Just going to be me walking through this. Not a ton of changes at the top here at this point. Obviously, the teams that I had at the top won this past week, so not much movement there at the top, but we do have some movement there at the bottom. And this 10 spot is one I spent some time thinking about. There's 3 teams under consideration for this spot: the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers. And I ended up going with the Green Bay Packers here at number 10. I've got the Lions completely falling out of the top 10. They had some serious offensive issues in that game Sunday night against Philadelphia. I understand that Philadelphia Eagle defense is really, really good after that Jalen Phillips trade. I mean, my goodness, that just appears to be another incredible piece for, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and those guys in Philadelphia. But I got some serious concerns with the Lions offensively. It's one thing when Dan Campbell says, I'm going to take over play calling and we're going to play the Washington Commanders. Totally different when you have to go out there on the road in Philadelphia and play that Eagle defense, and it did not look good. Again, credit to the Eagles. They blanketed guys all afternoon or all evening long, made things really difficult. Were able to get home with only, bringing 3-4 guys. Didn't even really have to blitz to affect the quarterback. Obviously, Goff has mobility issues, basically a statue, kind of a dinosaur, really, this day and age of professional football. I understand all those things. Philadelphia did a tremendous job. I've got concerns about the Lions, and that defense, not very good. They played well in the game against Philadelphia. I got some questions there on the back end. They got, Kirby Joseph, he's banged up. The kid, Arnold from Alabama, he's also a little bit banged up there as well, so I don't trust them from a secondary perspective, and it was enough to knock them completely out of this list. And then the Ravens I considered, but as we talked about on Off the Bench, they got offensive line issues, particularly there in the interior. And when you're a quarterback and your guard play is not good, it is very, very difficult. Even if you have the mobility of a guy like Lamar Jackson, when you have guys, big guys, constantly directly in your face, it can prohibit your abilities to be accurate with the football down the football field. Lamar Jackson had some of those issues against Cleveland, turned the ball over with 2 interceptions in that game. Cleveland's a good defense. Baltimore, I still think, can hang in there with the top of this league, but I've got questions with them. I'm not ready to put them in the top 10. So I go with the Packers. Don't feel great about Green Bay. They beat the Giants. Love exits the game early. He comes back. He makes some big throws. The receivers continue to be issues for Green Bay. They don't have that one. They went out and drafted a bunch of those guys. They haven't really had somebody kind of separate themselves from the pack. Here at this point, it's very much receiver by committee in Green Bay, and that certainly has caused them a lot of issues here at this point for the Packers. Still have a fine record. I still think they're a playoff team. And look, I picked this team to go to the Super Bowl. They clearly don't look like they're on that level. I have confidence that LaFleur and Love will get things figured out offensively. The defense in Halfley, tremendous job. They do enough to get in my top 10, but I certainly don't feel great about it. At number 9, Tampa Bay. Last week I had the Buccaneers at 7. This week they lose, of course, to the Buffalo Bills, 44-32. I dropped them down a couple of slots. Baker Mayfield's awesome. Right, there's really no other way to put it. He is absolutely awesome. That was a great battle between him and Josh Allen. You look at the score and you go, it's a 2-possession game, not necessarily great. No, that thing was back and forth, and Buffalo just there at the end was able to kind of get that additional score and pull away. Obviously, Allen was better than Baker in the game, but Baker was tremendous. They've got guys banged up along their offense. Obviously, you have questions with their defense when they give up 44 points, but let's not act like some bum was out there playing quarterback for Buffalo. It happens to be a guy named Josh Allen, and last time I checked, he's pretty good. So I don't think their defense is going to be as bad going forward. And look, they're still going to win that division. They're still going to be a playoff team. I still think they probably get a playoff win. No Mike Evans obviously is huge, not having him. But I really expect them to continue to play good football and hang in there. The Panthers are kind of making some crazy run at this division, but let's be real here, that they're not on the same level as Tampa Bay. I still view Tampa as a top 10 team. They went on the road to Buffalo, played a heck of a game. Defense unable to get off the field. Again, they were playing Josh Allen. I don't think much less of Tampa Bay after that game. All right, the San Francisco 49ers check in at number 8. I did not have them ranked in my top 10 last week. They beat the Cardinals 41-22. Brock Purdy, he comes back. He plays great. 3 touchdowns in the game for Purdy, and there was a lot of questions kind of going in, right? Because your quarterback that was in place, Mac Jones, he was playing great football. To me, he looks like a guy that should be a starter in this league and have an opportunity to do so next year. And we said if Purdy comes in here against Arizona, doesn't play well, and heaven forbid they lose that game, there's going to be a lot of noise out on the West Coast. Didn't happen. He comes in, he plays well, and there's a clear rapport there between him and George Kittle. Lots of these younger quarterbacks have that, right, where it's like, this tight end is a guy that they trust, and there's great chemistry. And Kittle's been fine with Max since he came back from injury, but pairing him back up with Brock Purdy, there's clearly something special there. Purdy kind of calms everybody down. Yep, he's still the guy in San Francisco. You got a really good backup. Hopefully, for the sake of the Niners, you don't have to call upon him again this year. But, the Niners are really banged up. They got injuries all over their defense. But I said it at the very beginning of the year, and I'm going to continue to say it. I would give Kyle Shanahan the Coach of the Year award at this point. Obviously, they have to continue to win games, but the job he's done has been masterful. In the Bay Area this year. Niners check in at 8. 7, I got the Bills. Last week I had them at 10. They, of course, beat the Bucs 44-32. Josh Allen looked like Josh Allen. He was unbelievable, and that was kind of a sign to the rest of the NFL. When 17's on his game, they're tough, right? And Reed was kind of talking about this on off the bench. There's not really a team that has kind of separated themselves from the pack, and we sit there and say, yes, you're the best team in the National Football League. In years past, typically there is, right? Oh, it's the Chiefs this year, or it's the Bills this year, or it's the Ravens, or it's the Eagles, or it's the Patriots with Tom Brady, right? You don't really have that this year, and I think when that is the case, when these star quarterbacks like a Mahomes or an Allen go out there and ball out, they might be that team. So I've got issues and questions, I should say, with Buffalo defensively. They ran the ball a little bit better, but when Josh Allen's playing like that, they could go out there and flat out win the Super Bowl. They got number 7 on my power rankings. At 6, I've got the Seattle Seahawks. Last week, they were at the number 4 spot. They lost to the Rams 21-19 in L.A. And we talk about this all the time, where it's like, you have a loss or you have a close win. How are you going to view that team? Are you going to view them higher than you did before the game or lesser than you did going into the game? And honestly, I view Seattle higher, despite the fact that they lost. Sam Darnold went out there and threw 4 picks, right, against a team that a lot of people would argue is the best team in the NFL, in the Rams. And they were in that game. They had an opportunity to win that football game. And they had a game-winning kick that they missed, right? So Darnold, he kind of reverted back to some New York Jets Sam Darnold moments there with his performance in the game. He's not going to play that bad. For whatever reason, the Rams have his number. If you remember the playoff game last year, it was the Rams. He struggled, obviously. Darnold's been tremendous this year, but that's the thing about Sam Darnold. Occasionally you will get a stinker, and that obviously was a complete and utter stinker from Sam Darnold on Sunday. 4 interceptions, and it wasn't like, this one was tipped or this one, his receiver was in the wrong spot. They were all bad interceptions for Sam Darnold in that football game. And, the fact that the defense was able to hang in there like that Seattle defense, Mike McDonald, they've done a tremendous job. I still think they're going to compete for that division title. I still think they're going to be a threat in the playoffs. Sam obviously has to play much better than that, but I still got him at number 6. All right, I guess I got to do it. I guess I got to put the Denver Broncos in here at number 5. I've had them in the top 10. I had them at 9 last week. They beat the Chiefs 22-19. Their offense isn't very good, but Bo Nix, he played solid in the fourth quarter, and I guess he played solid throughout the entirety of the game there as well. Sean Payton's awesome. I love Sean Payton. That defense is incredible. They're probably the best defense, right? You talk about teams like the Eagles and teams like the Seahawks. I think even the Texans there to some degree. But Broncos probably got the best defense. They're good at all 3 levels. And, look, when you hold Mahomes to 19 points, that says a lot. And it's not just Mahomes and a bunch of bums. We've talked about the Chiefs. They have guys out there offensively this year. And to hold them to less than 20 says a lot. And I guess we got to start, buying into the Broncos a little bit here. If you want to win a world championship, you got to be able to score points, and you got to have a competent quarterback. And I've got questions on whether or not that's the case, but all they do is win. So I've got them checking in here at number 5. At 4, I've got the Indianapolis Colts. Last week, I had them at 6. They are a beneficiary of some other teams at the top losing. So they obviously did not play, but they get bumped up a couple of spots. They were idle this past week. I'm not fully in on Daniel Jones. He's done a lot of good things, but that game, the international game, he wasn't great. He was good enough for them to win. Jonathan Taylor very much should be in the MVP conversation. Lou Anarumo's done a great job with that defense. And, I think they got their sights on potentially trying to secure home field through the playoffs. I think the 1 seed's a real possibility for Indianapolis. I don't think they're as good as the other team that we're going to talk about here in a second, but got the Colts at 4. Eagles got them at 3. Top three doesn't change from last week. Last week I had them at 3. They beat the Lions 16-9. That defense is incredible. The Jalen Phillips trade from Howie, incredible. Quinyon Mitchell is one of the best young corners in the league. Those linebackers are great. Nakobe Dean, Jahad Campbell, who of course the Bengals could have, does a tremendous job at that linebacker spot. Their defensive line, Jalen Carter, is incredible. And Jordan Davis is great as well. He had several, knockdowns at the line of scrimmage there in that football game. So that defense is incredible. You got questions on offense. It's crazy to see the Eagles struggle to run the football because they've got dudes there on that offensive line. Juergens has proven he's a great center. Obviously, he had missed a couple of games, and then he left the game, and they had to put the backup, Toph, in. Again, that didn't go over very well. I think Dickerson there at that guard spot's really good, along with Steen. Mailata obviously has been solid, but you're going to lose Lane Johnson for it looks like a few weeks. Then you got to go with Fred Johnson, who we all know isn't necessarily the most reliable guy in the world. Saquon hasn't exactly looked like himself. I mean, a couple of tush pushes in the game that they weren't able to execute on, which is crazy. We don't often see that. So you got questions there for them, but they were trying to get the ball to A.J. Brown. Clearly, for whatever reason, when these receivers go out there and they make headlines and they make noise, they almost always get an opportunity to get a lot of catches and get a lot of balls thrown their way in the subsequent game. And they did that, and he didn't exactly capitalize to the degree that I think a lot of people had hoped. But they got good receivers. I like Jalen Hurts. Right? Is he Josh Allen? Is he Joe Burrow? No, but he's really good. His 2 best games of his career have come in the Super Bowl. I think they're protecting him a little bit, and we heard, of course, Collinsworth allude to this on the broadcast, where it's like, when the Eagles are at their best, he's got to be running the football a little bit. And they've kind of fully protected him, which maybe they're just trying to save him for the home stretch and the playoffs, which might be a good decision. But, you've got questions there offensively. There's still the growing pains of a new OC, but I think, growing pains in Philadelphia are much easier to deal with when you're winning football games, and they're still finding ways to win. So I got them at 3. Rams got them at 2. Last week I had them at 2. They beat the Seahawks 21-19. My real only concern with the Rams is sometimes things get a little stagnant for them in the middle of the game offensively. When you got McVay, when you have these elite play callers, that opening script is going to be tremendous, right? When you have an opportunity to figure out exactly, what plays you want dialed up, and you go in there and you call them and you go down the field and you score. Oftentimes you see the Rams do that, and they've done a tremendous job of that. Their defense is really good. They got a lot of youth. They got a lot of good players. They got a lot of experience, too, after they've played for a couple of years together now. That defense is absolutely real, and Shula has done a tremendous job there defensively. It's just a little bit of stagnation there in the middle of games is my only concern with the Rams. But Matthew Stafford, you could say he's the MVP of the league here at this point. I think I would probably put him there at that point, and he's seen it all, he's done it all, and I think he's in a position to go on another run here if everybody can stay healthy. Puka obviously is incredible. Devontae Adams has kind of been unlocked and has kind of turned into that guy that they hoped he would when they made that signing. So I think the Rams are certainly a force to be reckoned with here at this point. And at the number 1 spot, I have the New England Patriots. I've been on this for a while. I've had them at 1 for several weeks now. They played on Thursday Night Football. They beat the Jets. 24-17, I think, was the final of that game, or maybe it was a little bit more than that. But the Jets obviously stink. They're not good. But it's more about the Patriots. I'm a big believer in them. Vrabel being the head coach, he's going to be there for a long time. I think McDaniels, the OC, he's going to be there for a long time too, right? Because he's kind of tried the head coaching thing in the past. Hasn't worked out well at all. And I think if I'm a team that has a head coaching opening here this year or in years to come, regardless of the success he has with Drake May and Mike Vrabel in New England, I don't know if I, want to entertain the idea of bringing him in as being the head coach because he's tried a couple of times and he's failed. So I think that marriage, that relationship between Drake May, Mike Vrabel, and Josh McDaniels is going to be in place for a long time. I think there's going to be a lot more winning in this organization's future, and I think it's going to continue this year. I understand they have a weak schedule, right? That's what happens when you play bad the previous year. You get a favorable schedule the following year, but they have beat the Buffalo Bills, have an opportunity to do that again here coming up, and we'll see. But I think these Patriots are real. I think the number 1 seed is a real possibility for them in New England, and there really isn't that one team that has kind of come out at top of the AFC. When you talk about the AFC right now, you're talking about the Patriots, the Colts, and the Broncos, and they all have young quarterbacks. I know Daniel Jones isn't really young, but unproven quarterbacks. They seem to be on the best teams, But what's to say that, Josh Allen isn't going to come in and perhaps knock them off in the postseason, right? Or if the Chiefs can still get, if Mahomes can do it, or Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, right? So we have a lot of unproven quarterbacks on some of these really top teams in the AFC, but I'm buying stock on the New England Patriots. I don't think this is a fluke whatsoever. I think it is real, and I think Drake May has done a tremendous job. He deserves MVP love, and I've got them once again at number 1 in my power rankings here this week.